Would you like to hear Coach sing Barry Manilow? You see, Coach, they believe in you. The Rock believes in you. And keep in mind, Coach, why don't you sing? Because we are live. We are live on The Rock Show, live on SmackDown. Sing it, you idiot. So go ahead and sing, Coach. Sing like you've never sang before.
All right, here goes. At the Copacabana. Yeah, the hottest spot north of Havana.
You like the Copacabana? Is that what you like? You like the Copa?
Yeah.
Well, Copa your ass on out of here, jabroni. Beat it. Yeah.
Wanna take it slow. No more.
ESPN Radio 97.7, 100.1. I am Paulie. Welcome back. The Artist of the Week, Alice in Chains. Hope you're having a good day this Sunday morning. We've talked to Brian Higgins about Syracuse lacrosse. Major League umpire Jim Reynolds broke down replay with us. Let's now go to the guy who comes on ESPN Radio next, Jonathan Coachman. Guy, I'm fascinated by his career. Jonathan, welcome aboard. And how did you get started in broadcast?
Well, it was something, Paulie, that I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. And I just had a couple of breaks along the way and got my first job in Kansas, where I'm born and raised, and worked for the ABC affiliate in Wichita. And again, I had several people really help me and really cut me some breaks in Wichita when I wasn't quite ready to work at that level, and then worked in Kansas City, and everything kind of just went from there.
For people that don't know, you were in the WWE, and now you're at ESPN. When you got to ESPN, were you accepted right away, or did you kind of get looks like that guy was just interviewing The Rock last week?
Well, it was tough, man, because I actually had about 5 months in between jobs, but still, wrestling fans are very, very loyal, and 5 months is nothing in the world of broadcasting. So it was difficult the first couple of years. It was very, very difficult for me because there were certain executives at ESPN that did not want me to succeed, and they wanted me to kind of drift away for a little bit and have people forget about the name I had made for myself in wrestling because it was made in wrestling, and that was very frustrating. But certain people came into their spots, and the last 3 years have been great. And we continue to climb the ladder, so to speak, and I couldn't be any happier.
How about the sports fans? Have they accepted you, and have they been good with you?
I think sports fans are just like wrestling fans, that you have to earn your credibility. And that's the one thing I learned in 10 years with Vince, is that you got to earn the respect. You got to earn people wanting to tune in to you every single week. And whether you're doing sports entertainment or whether you're doing regular sports, you've got to earn that. And I think after a long period of time and also getting to do shows with different big-time personalities, I think that definitely helped me too. And now that I'm on the, I did Sports Center with Stuart Scott the other night. So when you can do it with a guy like that really helps your credibility. And it's been almost 6 years now. And I think I know sports about as well as anybody, and I can do the show about as well as anybody, and I have fun doing it. I think that's half the battle. So it definitely was a struggle at first, but it's certainly not an issue anymore.
Talking with Jonathan Coachman, Coach and Company, coming up in about 10 minutes here on ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1. Is this what you want to be doing at ESPN? Is maybe a play-by-play in your future, or is this what you want to do?
This is it. This is it's so funny because a lot of times in TV and in broadcasting, this, you're in the business. It's always about the next job. How can I get to the next big job? I'm one of the few people that have got to the next big job, that I've got a job that eventually, in any profession, Paulie, you have to put down roots at some point, even in TV and radio. And when you get to ESPN, it then becomes not about where can I go next, it's how far can I go here. And this is one of those situations where I want to do Sports Center, I want to do NFL, and I want to do college hoops, and that's all I want to do. And so I'm exactly doing what I want to do.
All right, let's move on to sports. Day one of the draft came and went, and were you surprised Johnny Manziel fell as far as he did?
It didn't surprise me, and it wouldn't have surprised me if he would have gone higher. It was just one of those situations where he's such a lightning rod that the right team was going to have to take him. And it was obvious that Cleveland wanted him all along, and I thought they did a brilliant job of moving their picks around, and getting it done, and also getting the guys that they wanted. So, I mean, I think Cleveland, at least in the first day, did the best job of any team. They got a fantastic top 10 pick, and then they got Manziel at 22, which was a huge deal.
A couple things make me uncomfortable watching television. One is people on American Idol that think they have talent and they don't. And the second is maybe a guy that's just falling in the draft. When you're watching that, do you feel for that guy?
You feel for him, and you say, why did you decide to go to New York City? You know, it's one of those situations where, you know, for a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, I didn't feel like, even though he had a first-round grade throughout most of the preseason or the springtime, I really didn't think he should have been in New York. Now, he went in the first round, and he was a guy that it's going to be probably a starter for Minnesota. But if you're not sure and you don't know, don't go to New York City. Don't put yourself in a situation to be embarrassed by the camera coming back to you every single night or every single shot. Now, I will say this. With Manziel and Clowney, everybody else that went, I guarantee you didn't know who was there.
In this business, you're not allowed to really say it, but do you have a favorite NFL team, and do you think they did good on day one?
Well, I really thought, I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and I really thought that we were going to have Manziel fall in our laps at 23. So I never evaluate the draft until the whole thing is over, because the first night's just one round. So I can't evaluate a draft by one player. You've got to wait until Saturday night to see what they do in the third and fourth rounds. So let's face it, most guys that are stars are not always the first-round picks. And so you got Richard Sherman, who just signed a $57 million deal. He's a fifth-round pick. So I don't even look at the first round, so to speak, because there's so many misses, because they draft off the combine and not off of talent and heart. And I think that's what rounds 2 through 7 are really about.
All right, we'll move on to the NBA playoffs now. Was that the best first round of NBA playoffs that you've ever seen?
I've never seen anything better. And as good as that was, the second round's been that much worse. It's almost like all the teams except for Miami used all their energies to get through their first round series, because most of them had to go to 7 games, 5 of the 8. So it was fantastic. I think the Clippers and Thunder has been fun through the first 2 games, but there's an apparent lack of energy with teams like Portland, and you can see the Spurs really didn't have, even though they played Dallas difficult, their guys are rested. So are the Heat. And you're starting to see that process play out here in the conference semis. So it was a great first round. Thoroughly enjoyed it. There's nothing like doing SportsCenter on a night when there's a couple of big NBA playoff games. So I loved it.
Talking to Jonathan Coachman, you brought up the Spurs. Did they get a lot of criticism for being boring? You're a Hoops fan. Do you find the Spurs to be boring? I
find them very boring. I think they've got a couple of new good players, but as long as Tim Duncan and Parker and Ginobili are there, to me, they're always going to be that boring team. And there's nothing that they can do about it. ESPN will never say it, but I don't think they ever want the Spurs to make it to the NBA Finals, because they don't draw ratings, because they don't have big-time superstars. But they're a heck of a franchise, maybe as good as it's been in the last 20 years. And not everybody can be sexy. So sometimes you got to have boring, and that's okay.
All right, we spoke to Jim Reynolds, Major League umpire, a little earlier. We'll move on to baseball. Have you been a fan of replay so far?
I think there's been several instances that it's really done its job. I think over the long haul, especially in the playoffs, it's really going to help. And I really believe that you may see, and you're going to see inevitably at some point, a playoff game, maybe even a World Series game, turn on replay. And that's ultimately what you want to have happen, is get the call right. I don't care how long it takes. So far, it's been pretty fast. Just get the call right.
Last thing before we let you go, was there a better feeling for you than being in the WWE and being booed by the fans when you were actually playing the bad guy?
Bro, it was the best. It was the absolute best. Because coming from a guy who was strictly an announcer for the first couple of years to a guy that the fans genuinely hated to see, and they would give you that emotion, and they would take the time to use part of their energy for the night to boo you out of the building. Anybody that's in pro wrestling will ever tell you there's nothing like being a really good heel, because usually that means eventually you're going to be a really great baby face. I never became that great baby face, but I also got to do a lot of things that I never expected that I would get to do. So I'm grateful for that, and the fans have been incredible. And I really hope someday I can bring the two worlds together on some level. So we'll see if that ever happens.
Jonathan Coachman, his show's coming up next. Thanks for your time, man.
You got it, Paulie. Take care, man.
We'll come back and wrap it up with Junior Mint next. We leave you with the Artist of the Week now, Alice in Chains on ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
It's okay. Had a bad day. Hands are bruised from breaking rocks all day. Trained in blue, I bleed for you.